Amy, I had to virtually interrupt you rather abruptly. I'm sorry. I don't want to lose your thought because we went from Phenomenal Woman to talking about depression.
Mm. And my thread of thought there was that personal self-esteem, feeling good about yourself, is obviously the flip side of having no self-esteem. And gaining self-esteem is a lifelong process that can be challenged by having a rocky start in life. And one of the things that really appealed to me about Phenomenal Woman was that it was an affirmation. And it's the most positive self-talk you can get, as opposed to a negative self-talk script, which is at the heart of most depressive thinking styles. And depressive thinking styles can lead to depressive moods.
In your work on behalf of the mental health community and the mental health issue for Canadians, is there a connection to what happened to you through Phenomenal Woman?
Well, it's actually interesting because in order to have the chutzpah to perform Phenomenal Woman, I actually was in therapy at the time, and I actually had to work with my therapist to say, I don't have the confidence. I'm embarrassed to put myself out there and tell everyone that I think I'm phenomenal. Because I guess I probably am, but I couldn't possibly get up in front of people and say that. And they'll, and
You took it that personally?
It's pretty vulnerable when you're on stage in front of hundreds or thousands of people and putting that message out. Yeah.
Well, you were singing a song that's a poem that someone else wrote.
I know, but yeah. But I'm a crazy sensitive artist. What can I say? I didn't think that I had the the power and the chutzpah to pull it off, really.
And is that breakthrough what led you to become an advocate on mental health?
The piece of information that my therapist shared with me, which is that making mistakes, being vulnerable, being human, enhances bonding between people, was complete news to me. I thought you had to be perfect for people to love you. I didn't realize that being flawed or vulnerable or human actually caused people to come towards you. And what I realized when I decided to share my history with postpartum depression, which I've become a public speaker about and an advocate with a group of people who are trying to remove the stigma from all mental health issues, was that by sharing the story of me being at my absolute lowest dysfunctional self, people wouldn't hate me and reject me. They would feel compassion and gratitude that I was being honest. And since having gone public with it, I found out that the statistic of 1 in 5 people having gone through a mental health issue, which is what the Stats Canada says, to me that's way too low. I think it's more like 1 in 3, and probably 1 in 2 that if they themselves haven't gone through a mental health issue, someone in their direct circle has, whether it's addiction, alcoholism, bipolar, depression, anxiety management, any number one of an isms that you could find. It affects all of our lives, and it is the secret that is way too swept under the rug.
It's changed, though, hasn't it, the conversation around mental health? I think
it's starting to?
In the last few years, the issue's out there a different way. What have you found? How has speaking out about this affected you?
Well, it's affected me because what I kept as a shameful secret to be kept private at all costs, I've now released. There's no secret about it. I've released it to the public. I've released it to the world. So it's no longer a burden for me. Secrets create a toxic energy in yourself. And once you've shared the worst, that's as low as you can go. And once you realize that you can share the worst and still be loved as much or maybe even more than you were, you realize that there's no reason to keep anything poisonously quiet within yourself.
So I want to talk about this phenomenon of celebrities, if you will, speaking out on important social issues, because there's hardly a social issue today that doesn't draw on someone who's made their mark in some way, and very often it's from the music industry or the film industry.
I think it is. I think we've become... Well, I think there's so much information in the world. There's so much access to the information with internet and 150 channels on television that people are used to turning to familiar faces to get their information. And I think if you've accepted celebrity into your life as a source of music or entertainment or whatever, it's natural that there's a sort of a trust level there, unless the celebrities, it gives you reason not to trust them.
Some would say that it adds a commercial dimension to the conversation about social issues, that it kind of dumbs them down.
I suppose you could make that argument, but I think that in an information-saturated culture, you want to get someone's attention. And I think I know particularly from mental health. I was recently at the CAMH Transforming Lives Awards ceremony, and one of the speakers spoke about the fact that public health funding in Canada for years started from the neck down. You know, anything that happened below the neck you could get funding for. Anything that happened above the neck has sort of been shoved aside. And one part of the reason is that so few people want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Recovering addicts don't want to talk about it. Recovering people who deal with depression ongoing, nobody wants their colleagues and their family to know that they have these issues. Whereas it's just a brain disorder, just like you can have a kidney disorder or a liver disorder. And by demystifying it, by just saying, particularly in my example, I went through it and I came out the other side.
You came out the other side.
And so can you.
Yeah.
And that, I think, gives it credibility.
Mm-hmm. You've done work also with Olivia Newton-John. That's a special relationship that you've had, and she's another celebrity who's been very, very active.
Yes.
As a breast cancer survivor on breast cancer. We're going to see a video of some of your work together, but tell me when you met Olivia.
We first met in 1987. I was living in Los Angeles, and I was signed to a music publisher there, and she was making an album called The Rumor, and she was looking for females to collaborate with. And so our lawyers were partners, and they put us together to write. And we immediately hit it off back then, and we wrote some songs for her record, and then
that was before she got sick.
That was before she got sick. It was before I had a child and I got sick. So we both actually, she had her cancer and I had my postpartum depression kind of around the same time, and I moved back to Canada and she went to Australia, and we lost physical touch, but we sort of, we stayed in touch with Christmas cards and writing and a couple of phone calls.
Until the collaboration, we're going to take a break, see the two of you making music together, and come back.